I used to think ancient people were miserable. In my head, their whole life was cold wind, empty stomachs, and running from animals with bigger teeth than theirs. Meanwhile, I was lying in a warm room, annoyed because my phone charger was too short. So obviously, I thought, we won. We had lights, medicine, delivery food, soft beds, and tiny glowing screens that could summon every song, joke, argument, and stranger's lunch in human history. They had sticks. But one evening, while I was pretending to study, I found an idea that made my modern brain glitch. Ancient people were poor, but they were not constantly busy. They had no offices, no bosses, no loans, no alarm clocks screaming at sunrise, no endless race to become a better version of themselves before breakfast. Their world was dangerous, yes, but danger is simple. Danger waits outside the firelight, pressure crawls under the blanket with you, and suddenly their poverty looked less like failure and more like a different wealth. The next morning, I imagined myself inside their camp, not as a hero, just as me, confused and probably useless. Jack was sharpening a stone point near the fire. Mary was sorting berries with two children who kept eating the best ones. Old Thomas sat nearby, pretending not to laugh. Nobody looked rich. Nobody owned much. A broken basket, a few hides, a necklace made from bone, smoke in their hair. That was nearly everything, but nobody was alone. When Jack complained that the hunters had found nothing, Mary rolled her eyes and pushed Roots toward him. "Then eat what we found," she said. Everyone laughed, including Jack. There was no private fridge, no locked cupboard, no person eating secretly while another went hungry. Food arrived from different hands. Meat, berries, nuts, roots, stories. Some days were lucky, some days were thin. But the meal belonged to the camp. Watching them, I felt embarrassed. I had more snacks in my room than Jack owned in his life. Yet I ate them alone, under blue light, while a family with almost nothing passed food around like warmth. At midday, I noticed the children. In my world, childhood meant chairs, bells, worksheets, and adults saying, "Focus." In Jack's world, children moved like small sparks through the camp. They chased each other between trees, copied Mary's hands as she cracked nuts, and watched old Thomas read the ground like a book. A bent blade of grass meant something had passed. A broken shell meant breakfast might be nearby. Nobody gave them a lecture called Survival 101. Life itself was the classroom. When one little boy tried to lift a basket too heavy for him, everyone laughed, but kindly. Then Mary showed him how to drag it instead. He learned in 10 seconds what I might have turned into a homework assignment. They played, helped, failed, and tried again. No one expected them to sit still for 7 hours while their legs begged to run. They knew clouds, tracks, berries, birds, seasons. I knew passwords. And for the first time, I wondered whether growing up faster did not mean losing childhood. Maybe it meant belonging to the world sooner. By evening, nobody announced that work was finished. It simply faded. The sun slid lower, the air cooled, and the camp changed shape. Hands that had been digging, cutting, carrying, and sorting became hands warming over the fire. Jack stretched out like a lazy cat. Mary leaned against a log. Old Thomas began telling a story about a hunter who thought he was brave until he heard one twig snap in the dark. Everyone knew the ending, but they laughed anyway. That was the strange part. Their happiness did not come from owning more. It came from being known. If Jack was angry, he could not disappear into headphones for 3 days. If Mary was tired, someone noticed. If old Thomas spoke too long, the children groaned and he pretended to be offended. Problems had faces, arguments had voices, silence had company. I thought about my own room where I could talk to hundreds of people and still feel invisible. Around that fire, no one had a profile. They had a place. Later, I followed Jack to the edge of the trees. The hunt had failed. No dramatic music, no heroic return, just 3 tired people carrying silence. In a movie, this would be disaster. In the camp, it became Tuesday. Mary had Roots roasting under ash. The children had found nuts. Old Thomas had a pouch of berries he guarded like treasure until the smallest girl stared at him with huge eyes. He sighed and gave her the biggest one. I waited for someone to complain. Nobody did. They knew hunger, but they also knew patience. A bad day did not mean the whole system had broken. It meant tomorrow mattered. That hit me harder than I expected. My life was full of full cupboards, but one empty notification could ruin my mood. Their world had fewer things to lose, so maybe each person mattered more. The fire popped. Someone passed me a root, smoky and plain. It was not delicious. It was not content. It was food.